Well, good afternoon to all of you. I know that some of you are sitting there in traffic. You're looking at those long lines of red taillights, and if you listen to the intro here, you'll recognize again that guess what? This is not Tuesday, this is Thursday, and that's because we've shifted our programming here for Asian Review. And we're now operating on Thursdays, and KGU will catch up with us, all the good folks there at part of the Wall Street Business Network. You can join the conversation by calling us at area code 808-296-5467. And today we're going to be talking about the new APEC initiative in Hawaii, linking education to innovation, entrepreneurship, and the Asia Pacific. And we've got also a debut of a brand new partnership between the good folks at ThinkTech Radio and guess what? The Junior League of Honolulu.
Woo! Front and center.
Right. They are here. They are alive.
Yes.
Let me tell you. And those of you who are not tuned in on the web streaming function, you're going to miss out on the gray pinstripe suits with the matching Mickey Moto pearls and the black pumps.
Now they're
and
all
the gloves. We
the
wear
gloves,
gloves.
the white gloves, right?
That's right.
David's really going to get the listeners
That's right.
onto the
We're-
web because they're
We're-
curious now.
We got them going now. So let me introduce who the folks we got in the studio and some new co-hosts that are joining us here on ThinkTech Radio. Jennifer Dotson. Jennifer, say hello to everybody. They've heard your voice already, but let's connect the name with the voice.
Wei, Nimen Daja Hao. This is Jennifer Dotson. I'm the president of the Junior League of Honolulu.
And it's great to have you here,
Thank you,
Jennifer.
David.
Wonderful. And Mildred Schwartz. Mildred?
Aloha, I'm Mildred.
And guess what? You know, Mildred is a professional radio DJ.
Syndicated.
Well,
Syndicated.
that was my background. That's how I started off working. Actually, when I was 16, I started a little radio show and got going, and I fell in love with radio. How could you not? It's so much fun.
And syndicated and types of shows that you used to do, Mildred?
Well, the syndicated show was a flamenco show.
Flamenco.
Flamenco. So it was Nuevo Flamenco and Old Flamenco. And, you know, just going down through the history of how flamenco came to be. And it was really an amazing show, and I was really fortunate to have the opportunity to do it at such a young age.
You know, I forgot to mention, you know, as we're getting started here, that this is a show that has to do with international business and events in the Asia Pacific region, and we will get to the APEC initiative down the road here. There's a linkage between the Junior League and the APEC initiative. And let's also give you a chance, those of you in the audience, to identify the voice of our special guest here, Bernice Bowers. And so, Bernice, say hi.
Hi, and thanks so much. I appreciate it. I'm a Junior League sustainer, which means I'm ancient, but I still take my...
I thought that was just supposed to write the big checks.
Well,
that's what a
too.
sustainer is.
That's what the ancients do.
So you see, if you were watching on the live streaming, you would see that she's not ancient. She actually looks younger than David, which isn't hard. Which isn't hard.
That's easy, you know. She's way younger than me.
Bernice isn't giving herself enough credit. She looks amazing.
This is this lady Bernice is the managing partner for Innovi Technologies, and just real quick for our audience, what does Innovi do?
We do a lot of project management, particularly for companies who are commercializing technology. They develop technology for military and for civilian use.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, we'll get back to Bernice in a moment, but I know that those of you in the audience are really curious about this new strategic partnership between ThinkTech Radio and the Junior League, and you're probably saying to yourself, what does this have to do with international things? Just stay with us. We'll get there. But let's fill out the Junior League piece. And so, Jennifer, as the president of Junior League Honolulu, tell the audience that doesn't know, what is the Junior League all about?
Well, I can tell you the first thing to all of our listeners, David can't join.
Okay, well that's...
Because he's a man.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay,
You know, you have the wrong chromosomes, David.
I can't.
But you know, he's so fascinated to know about the Junior League. We should tell him
You
about
better
what
tell-
we're
yeah,
all
come on.
about.
We got-
And I think Bernice should join us in this as
All
well.
right.
So maybe
Okay.
Bernice, what is the Junior League?
No, it's a leadership group that really trains women to be assets to their community, to
Okay.
build stronger, healthier communities.
Okay.
And Mildred, what would you say the Junior League is to you?
Can you translate what Bernice said?
He's male. He doesn't
I don't
get
have
it.
that level of education.
Again,
I
you
can't.
know.
Don't mind me while I
the
hit
Junior
him.
League, the Junior League is just an organization that really empowers women and teaches them how to be really great people and trains them to do things in just a manner that's efficient and effective, not just for themselves, but for the community. And it gives them the skills to use so they can progress forward in their life and in their everyday life, which is amazing.
So those of you who would like to check it out online, because we know all your listeners are also very tech savvy, check us out online, www.juniorleagueofhonolulu.org. We are a all-women's organization, 400 members strong here in Hawaii. We're part of an international network of women organizations, all junior leagues all across the globe. And it's an amazing organization with amazing mission statement that basically promotes the development of women and women volunteers in order to increase our impact in our local communities. And that we have done for 89 years here in Hawaii. Not a lot of people know that.
Boy, that is a real record.
Yeah, there's not a lot of nonprofit organizations that have been around for that long.
That's right. It's 1923, and we are celebrating our 89th birthday this October. So, again, we're really excited to celebrate our new debut with David and ThinkTech Radio, and this is very exciting. So, thank you, David. Even though we've gotten off to sort of a joking start
it's
with
gonna
you,
be that way.
we really are. We're really appreciative to you.
You know, we are broadcasting live from the ThinkTech bunker here in the belly of the beast on Bishop Street. And we're going to be talking about some interesting things about an APEC initiative. But we wanted all of you to really to catch the connection with the Junior League, and also we wanted to introduce, most importantly, the new superstars coming out of the Junior League. In terms of our co-hosts here on ThinkTech Radio, you're going to be hearing from Jennifer and Mildred in other shows. We got a programming rotation. We'll try to have Thursdays retain its exclusive jurisdiction on things that have to do with international business or events, globalization, international politics. But you can join the conversation later on down the road here. My guess is that you probably are waiting to see what we're going to do here. But you would be calling area code 808-296-5467. And let me just say to those of you who are listening on the internet through our streaming function at KGU, you're welcome to join the conversation. Unfortunately, you got to use the same area code, but we welcome you, and we've had some great calls coming in from our colleagues in Asia and on the U.S. mainland. And so let's go now to our main topic that we're going to be talking about here. And there is some kind of a APEC initiative that has its roots in a once failing Castle High School. And what is that all about, Bernice? Can you help us with that?
Absolutely. So Castle High School is part of an entire complex of elementary schools and intermediate school, King Intermediate, on the windward side of Oahu. And they have an incredible faculty. They have a really great administration, but they're faced with what every school is faced with, really huge numbers of students who have very different types of learning capabilities, and also there are issues about relevance. What are they learning in class that's relevant to their lives? And what we're finding in most high schools around the country is that no longer is it efficient to train kids within the four walls of a school. They really are much more engaged and have a much higher level of achievement if they are doing projects in areas, in research centers and in their neighborhoods and their communities where they see the direct relevance of what they're learning. It's everything that we know about, for example, even science fair projects, which Hawaii Academy of Science is the lead on that. That project-based learning is really the way to engage a student and let them go very deeply into a strong discipline. So Castle has an incredible complex area superintendent, Leah Albert, who was facing 8 years of, or a little bit more, of the school not meeting yearly progress requirements at a federal level. And she decided to give the community a shot at redesigning the school. This is
redesigning the school.
And really redesigning the student's educational experience to include changing the time of day that school starts, allowing them to take their classes off-site at places like the Institute for Marine Biology, the Lo'i, and the fish ponds, and to really engage with subject matter experts, which changes the teacher's role to become a facilitator. They are the ones then that connect every student according to their learning ability to the experience. They don't have to be the subject matter experts anymore. So They looked at e-learning and all of the artificial intelligence-based types of learning programs for math and science so that you can have a student from special ed to honors in the same classroom. And they're going to be pacing their learning according to their own capabilities. So we know that applying technology and getting kids out of the classroom is a way to really expand their learning experience so that every child has a chance, to be engaged. And even engaged in the trades, because that's another area that was cut with a lot of budget cuts. So when we looked at CASEL, I was familiar with the APEC working groups, and the Human Resources Working Group is looking at exactly this issue. How do they engage students from K-12, create a workforce that's really aligned with the types of jobs that are out there?
Okay, let me interrupt you for a second here. Does this APEC working group on addressing this educational challenge, this is something that is a follow-on to the big APEC conference that was here in Hawaii last fall?
Their activities in Hawaii are a follow-on, but the APEC Human Resources Working Group has been in existence for many years.
It's a part of the continuum?
Yes.
Okay.
There are 15 working groups that all report up to the ministers, who all report up to the leaders. So when we had the leaders meeting here in Hawaii, they were discussing topics that came up from those working groups and projects from those working groups.
David, when you invited us to co-host this show with you, I was so excited because the first person that came to mind for the perfect guest today was Bernice Bowers. And it really is because she is one of the Junior League members, I feel, that ties together Hawaii with the Asia Pacific region, and she does it in her work. And this is something I know when I told you about it, the first thing that you said to me was, hey, what? Why didn't I know about this? And I consider you one of our foremost experts in Asia Pacific affairs here in Hawaii. So this is very exciting to introduce this to your listeners.
This is like discovering a diamond that it's been in your shoe the whole time and you didn't even notice it.
Exactly.
Well, we will talk more with Bernice and Jennifer and Mildred after the break, and we'll connect up the Junior League with this APEC initiative. Stay with us.
So how long is this break?
1 minute or so.
Okay.
So
how's it going?
This is very nice. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. Okay.
Yeah.
So on the APEC initiative piece, we have got we've got it introduced. Okay, and so we need to talk more about, flush this out, develop this in the next piece, and then this working group section here is the specialty one on the women's working group that we want to hold.
Yep.
So we have plenty of time to really develop this in the next section.
Good. Great.
You still with us, Jay? You still with us? You watching Monty Python over there or what?
Playing solitaire.
I'm taping
Oh, okay.
everything you say.
I understand.
It's poker, and he's winning.
All right. But this is a fascinating connection for the organization. The whole APEC working group, Junior League, and Bernice.
Oh,
it's beautiful.
But I'm thinking, for whoever is listening out there, they're like, what? Like, I haven't heard about this. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Again, you are an expert. I want to make that connection. Like, we are bringing somebody that you would have never had access to.
That's right. Oh, this is
except for listening to this.
Yeah, this is very, very, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we already got about maybe one more commercial, maybe?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Maybe.
Okay. Well, so we talked about the whole work. I think we should touch base on the workforce development, the sort of the connection with My Story, because we were co-chairs together.
In this next segment of the show?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Women in the communities.
Yeah.
That's what the Junior League is. That's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, we're coming back. We are back, we are live, and we're broadcasting from the ThinkTech bunker here on Bishop Street.
And it's not Tuesday.
Yeah, it's not Tuesday.
Somebody's got to
definitely
change that.
Thursday.
We'll get it fixed eventually here.
It's Thursday all day, right?
All
That's
day,
right.
until
It was.
tomorrow.
Yeah, in fact, it was Thursday this morning when I woke up, you know. Okay, those of you at KGU, we love you. You are part of the Wall Street Business Network, and we are proud to be broadcasting this program with you. We're talking about a new APEC initiative in Hawaii which links education to innovation, entrepreneurship, and the Asia Pacific. And we have with us in the studio as our guest Ms. Bernice Bowers. Did I pronounce the name of the company correct? Innovi?
Yes.
Innovi
Yes.
Technology. She's the managing partner, translation Big Cheese. And we also have we also have with us our new co-hosts, debuting Jennifer Dotson and Mildred Schwartz. Both representing a new strategic partner joining with ThinkTech.
The Junior League of Honolulu.
There we go.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I wish we had some music to go with that, but your voice works good enough,
Oh,
Mildred.
well, thanks.
Oh, that's
All right.
we can arrange for music on the next show.
Then we'll have music on the next show. That's right. So let's go back to this APEC initiative that we're talking about right at the break, Bernice. What does this entail for Hawaii? What's the piece that's ongoing for Hawaii now that APEC is, the formal meetings have left us?
So essentially, the Pacific International Center for High-Tech Research created this little incubator experience where we brought APEC to test out Hawaii as a training center for their working groups, and there are 15 working groups. They
So
each
we're the training center here for
will be
for 15.
Well, we're starting with the 3 that make the most sense in terms of our technical assets, and a 4th one in terms of our human assets. So the 3 are energy, emergency preparedness, and agriculture.
Okay.
So those are really areas or topics that address small island communities' needs as well as mobile warfighters' needs. And the 4th one is women, because one of the things that I personally learned through my experience with Jennifer in the Junior League, when we had a chance to really co-lead a project called My Story, is when you strengthen the community through women, and especially if you start with young girls, about 12 to 15, you can make a tremendous impact long-term in the sustainability and the health and the fitness of that community in all manner. Even if there's not a lot of funding that's available, you can actually have a very strong community if you start with women who know who they are, who have a strong self-identity, but who also can define dreams and goals and figure out how they're going to help solve the problems in their community.
So the areas are education, energy, women, and was there a 4th one?
emergency.
Emergency, emergency preparedness.
You know, David, I think Bernice is actually a prime example of our Junior League members who are taking the skills that they learned through the Junior League and applying them in their professional lives and also in their sort of other community service. And so it really just, it shows and it's indicative about how the Junior League, the members of the Junior League, women like Bernice are walking the walk and talking the talk and taking Hawaii to the next level. And really, I mean,
And that's what we need in Hawaii.
we totally need that. I mean, I am a big proponent of, like what Bernice was saying, holding up our girls and young girls so that we build the capacity of women here locally in Hawaii to make Hawaii the gateway for Asia Pacific. And I spent part of my career in Hong Kong, Taiwan, Beijing, Shanghai, and I came back to Hawaii because I believe that we can do this here in Hawaii. And what is it? It really is what Bernice is talking about with this new APEC initiative. So I'm very excited that she's sharing this with all of you today. Again, like I told you earlier, David didn't even know about it. So if David didn't know about it,
We are in trouble now.
We are in trouble. So for those of you that are curious, my story
This is Mildred Schwartz, by the way.
This is Mildred Schwartz. For those of you that are curious, My Story is a mentorship program for at-risk youth, female youth. And Bernice and Jennifer were sharing with us earlier that they actually co-chaired on My Story.
yep.
It's one of the things that was amazing in working with the castle redesign is coming across other women, you know, like Jennifer and members of the league who are active in community building. And I think that's one of the things that the Junior League really teaches you how to do is you don't go in with a preset idea of what the solution is. You go in and you really identify who the stakeholders are, and you go to the voice of the key user. Who are you trying to all help? And in this case, for my story, it was young girls between the ages of 12 and 15 who were at risk. In the case of Castle, it's the student whose needs we're trying to develop. And we're very lucky. There's a woman, Marlene Zoig, who's an amazing community builder.
We love Marlene.
She's really the lead on the Castle piece, along with Complex Area Superintendent Leah Albert and Susan Young. But when you see those kinds of skills, it's not an easy set of skills to build without some formal training. And so the Junior League was really the place where I learned it.
So Bernice, I'm curious, excuse me, how did the community accept the redesign of Castle?
Good question.
Well, the main thing was that when we brought them together, we said there is no preset plan. You have to start, though, by following a few ground rules. We want you to first hear from each other. We want the parent to see through the teacher's eyes, the teacher see through the administrator's eyes, the administrator see through parent's eyes, and then we all want you to hear the student voice. And just this whole, and we used a system called, from Stanford called design thinking to kind of accelerate that whole process. What it does is it forces people to empathize and to start to see solutions, not from a scarcity perspective, but to really look at what assets they have that they couldn't buy. For example, in the windward side, you couldn't take a huge budget and buy a lab that currently exists at the Institute for Marine Biology that Castle students could use.
This is the Coconut Island?
Yes.
Okay.
So you start to look at assets in your community that already exist, and they could be a kupuna, they could be a fish pond, they could be a high-tech company. All of a sudden, then people in the community start to see themselves as advocates for that student and assets for that school. So the community school model becomes one where everyone is engaged, everyone is leveraging their services. And companies, when you think about what's in it for me, for many companies, when they look at recruitment costs and HR costs, if they can have a human capital pump basically aligned towards their current and future needs in terms of workforce, they have saved so much money. They don't lose people who go back to the mainland. They don't waste their recruitment dollars. So a lot of companies are stepping up to be part of this.
That's amazing.
Those of you who are listening in the audience here that are involved in strategic partnerships, who are involved in sustainability and disaster management, heads up, and I hope you're starting to see the linkage between the work that you are doing and especially those of you over on Maui who are listening to this program at the Pacific Disaster Center over there. Heads up, because here's a linkage that you need to make as a consequence of this particular radio show that's very significant. So Bernice, now tell me, what's the connection between redesign of the program and curriculum at Castle with the APEC Education Initiative?
A couple of things. One is that APEC has always looked at models and sharing of best practices. They've always looked for a community school that really fully engaged the entire community. In this case, we're looking at Castle, possibly in the future Kahuku, that whole Ahupua'a segment that not only engages the community, but may possibly be a model for the rest of the district. And Hawaii is very unique in the sense that as a single state, we are a single district, educational district.
Boy, this is just absolutely mind-blowing that Castle High School and perhaps Kahuku could serve as models for community-based education
and
throughout
for the rest
Asia,
of the world.
for the rest
Really?
of the world.
I
I mean, wow, this is
It-
powerful
it's
stuff.
really fun. It's really fun to see David hold his brain together, and it's like it's going to explode.
Thank God for these
anytime.
earphones, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't be together.
Exactly. I wanted to ask you, Bernice, again, what is the connection between Hawaii and what you're doing and the Asia Pacific? Because I think a lot of the criticism comes from the fact that Hawaii, we are very insular in our thinking, that we're very provincial in the way that we do business, and you are totally turning that upside down on its head. So again, what is the connection to the Asia Pacific region?
The key thing is that when we were looking at this before the leaders meeting came to Hawaii, trying to think, when you look at all of the leaders meetings that have been held in these different countries, usually the countries who host the leaders meeting figure out what they are going to anchor as an asset in their country long after the leaders meeting comes. So in this case, I thought, human resources is the one thing that is transferable. You can't say that, geographic isolation has nothing to do with it.
Right.
And the key is, of course, alignment. Being able to show that from preschool all the way through college and post and into graduate school, if you can show that you're grooming people for all of these different future needs in the region, and especially if you look at the 3 areas that Hawaii has a unique foothold in, and again, emergency preparedness, energy, and ag, you could really create a system that could be replicable. Because the idea is that you have a training center here that could be a test bed of all types of best practices. You don't want to just say Hawaii has the entire set of answers, but we have all of
It's like a
these-
laboratory.
It is, and it's a safe laboratory. And it's one of the key things that it's why we got the leaders meeting. It's not only safe, but all of our assets are pretty much located in a fairly small area. You don't have to waste a day and a half like you do in Thailand to get from one part of the country to another. And also, you look at the ethnic mix, and there's a very natural sort of ease about training multinational teams here. And on top of it all, when they were looking at, I have to say, the host culture, that really what came through the APEC leaders meeting, but also when these working groups came out for sort of site inspection, they felt the Native Hawaiian host culture as so supportive, but also so deep in knowledge. And what they're looking at in many of these regions are combining deep Native knowledge with science and technology, because there's science and technology usually underlying quite a bit of Native knowledge, as well as spirituality. And they see that as a huge connection. If they can create these models and replicate them, they feel that they can increase regional prosperity and peace in the region.
So 15 working groups, and so far we have 4 of them focused and underway in Hawaii. 1, education.
One is energy.
Energy, education.
Emergency preparedness.
Emergency
David
preparedness.
has
David,
not
get it
been
together,
paying
man.
attention this whole time.
I've been asleep.
And agriculture, but the reason why you keep thinking education is that actually you're right. That's the glue that holds it all together. The human resources, training, and education is what we're looking at. So the 15 working groups, I should say, in and of themselves, focus almost exclusively on policy. But what we're hosting and housing is the training component. And that's where the Human Resources Working Group is so key to all of this. They're our key liaison, and that's what makes this work. I should mention also the Small Business Administration is hugely a part of this, because on the other end, I mentioned what's in it for me for companies as workforce, but also it's the Asia Pacific marketplace. So we're actively working with a highly specialized group out of California, out of SBA's Region 9, that is really experienced in bringing the Asia Pacific markets and market partners to an area, and where actually they'll highlight the projects that they're working on and what small businesses they want to plug into these projects. And we get a chance to showcase that in Hawaii, and really showcase Hawaii technology companies in particular that would match those projects. So we're partnered with the Asian Development Bank, and again with this technology commercialization agency out of California and the SBA.
We're probably going to have to go to a break now. I suspect we've got a engineer at KGU that's given us the red flag here. But when we come back, we'll take one of these working groups as an example, and we'll talk about it. And that's the special working group that the Junior League has a real interest in, and that's the working group on women.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned.
Stay with us. All right.
Thank you.
It's a little tricky because the board operator is not
Remote.
Right.
remote.
So
They're
she
not-
can't be like,
But that's that lady, Leah, who's listening to the show very carefully. And so if you give her enough time like that, and you have something else you can do, and then you just listen for the bumper music when it
Okay.
comes up.
yeah.
She's usually right there unless she's distracted.
perfect.
And then
right
we'll
there.
kind of keep an eye on the
Yeah, you
Right,
should.
the clock.
time.
Right,
and
you're right
then-
about, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
what she was doing This is what's very cool about the folks at KGU. They're really working carefully. She's listening to Bernice, and she doesn't want to break that
Sure.
important piece that she's saying. So they'll slide the commercial break
Oh,
on
yeah,
a talk
sorry.
show, which is very cool.
No, I
Very
think
sophisticated.
I think it went really well.
Sorry, I put tremendous pressure on her to do that.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Well, Jay takes care of Leah, and he takes her in. And so-
Sorry.
Well, this is okay. So I'd like to hone in on what you talked about, the training
Yes.
and the
Yes.
HR. I
Yes.
think that's the
I
glue.
agree.
I think that's the
Yeah.
glue
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
junior league. This people listening, because we're going to circle back to that
Yeah.
at the very end.
Yeah.
That I mean,
So we want to start with the training HR issue before we get into the working group on women.
well, I think so. Again,
Okay.
that's maybe a lead-in. To me, what I
Okay.
what I feel is hope and optimism. You know, listening to this, I'm excited.
Yeah, you
I mean,
should be. I am
it's-
too. I'm
I mean,
confused.
yeah,
but I'm excited.
It should be a little bit like your brain should be hurting
Yeah,
right
it
now
is.
because
Right.
it's so different from what we've been hearing all along.
And what
you
we're
know.
used to doing. You know,
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about rail.
Yeah.
Well, and also accelerators, and you know,
yes.
and it's not the answer.
Part of ThinkTech Radio's Focus on Asia Tuesdays with your host, international business lawyer David Day.
We are back, and you can join the conversation by calling us at area code 808-296-5467. You are listening to the Wall Street Business Network, and that's KGU 760 AM, and we're talking about a new APEC initiative in Hawaii that links education to innovation, entrepreneurship, and the region as a whole. Our guest is Ms. Bernice Bowers from Innovi Technologies. And this is also the debut show for a strategic partnership between ThinkTech and the Junior League of Honolulu. And my co-hosts here, superstars, Jennifer Dotson
Woo!
and Mildred Schwartz.
Aloha.
So and you know, we were just talking at the break here. And those of you who are on the web stream probably noticed us commenting that you know, this whole process that Bernice, you and Jennifer and Mildred have started to lay out, it's very hard to wrap your mind around it. And we'll talk a little bit, maybe if we get a chance, about a kind of a parallel effort being made by the Pacific Disaster Relief Center in the disaster preparedness situation here in Honolulu last week. With representatives from Indonesia, Vietnam, and the Philippines here in Honolulu. But let's get back to this APEC initiative. And right at the break, we mentioned we were going to talk about a women's working group. But before we, or as the lead-in, segue to that, Jennifer, what's the HR training piece of this that has got you so excited here?
Well, again, for those of you listening, I know you're sitting in traffic and your brain is hurting from looking at all those cars, but really, I'm excited. I'm excited by all of this happening, and I'm excited with this new partnership with ThinkTech Radio and David. I'm excited to have Bernice here in the studio with us. Now, Bernice and I were co-chairs together as volunteers for the Junior League of Honolulu. And that was how I got to know her. And as I've followed her travels around the world as she's developed this APEC initiative for Hawaii, I just had to bring her on air, David, because this is exciting.
It is
folks.
cool. Very cool.
I mean, you should be thinking to yourself, why haven't I heard about this earlier? Well, you're hearing about this now. And really what it's all about, it's the training. It's the workforce development. It's the building of capacity that we're doing here in Hawaii. I have a young daughter. I am excited for her to get involved. Those of you who are listening who have high school students, college students, you should be really calling in and finding out how your student, your family
Wait,
can
don't
get
all call in
involved.
at once. We'll tell
Okay,
you how
so
to get
don't-
involved later. Don't all call in at
Okay,
once.
so David's getting all excited.
The
here, so,
KGU lines will heat up like
bing,
they...
bing, 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 bing. But really, it's again the glue that we talked about at break is the training. It's the training and the development. And we at the Junior League of Honolulu invite women who are interested in exactly what Bernice is talking talking about and exactly what our mission statement is. It's all about training women and training women to make an impact in their communities. So join us online, juniorleagueofhonolulu.org. You can visit us online. You can also follow us on Facebook.
Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah.
And Mildred, tell us how they can find us on social media.
Well, on social media, they can find us through Twitter. I believe it's JLH.
Yep, JLH,
Honolulu.
JL Honolulu.
JL
Yeah.
Honolulu.
So at JL Honolulu. And on Facebook, it's Junior League of Honolulu. Yeah.
We're also on LinkedIn, and we
We
have
are all over the place.
Yes.
Just come and find us. If you can't find us right away, do a search for either JLH or Junior League of Honolulu.
And those of you at the
and we will
Pacific
pop up.
Disaster Relief Center on Maui, now you have no excuse. You've got to
Exactly.
link
That's
up with the Junior
right.
League.
Oh,
And
yes.
those of you listening from the J9 at PACOM, heads up. This is
That's
a group
right.
you got to get hooked in with because they're doing some very cool stuff. Let's jump in now to the topic of the women's working groups. So what is that piece about, Bernice?
So what APEC realized was that in each of these communities, particularly the communities that may not have reached regional prosperity levels that are needed, that women make a huge impact on their community health, on the education level of the next generation, and also in general are organizers within a community. And so when it comes to agriculture, for example, particularly in the Asia-Pacific region, when it comes to energy and new types of energy, and also when it comes to emergency preparedness, women actually have a huge role in each of these communities, whether it's through their schools, their children, or other networks of women. And so that's actually where the Junior League fits in terms of when we have the Women's Working Group coming to Hawaii, and we have assets, for example, in emergency preparedness, you have the Center of Excellence in Disaster Management, Humanitarian Assistance, you have the Pacific Disaster Center, you have the Maui Supercomputer, you have the National Disaster Preparedness Training Center at the University of Hawaii and at the Pacific International Center for High-Tech Research, and you have a lot of companies that have developed incredible products and technologies that are being tested even now by MAR4PAC and all of the testing and evaluation and science advisors because we have PACOM here. So we have a very unique way of looking at that entire region, but women actually are a key part of organically growing a lot of those capabilities. So it's not just dropping in something and hoping that it will adapt to the community.
Right.
Starting and designing a lot of these products and technologies with the input of women in the community is one of the fastest ways to ensure that you end up with products and services that allow them to be sustainable. So you don't have to send in U.S. forces every time a disaster hits.
You know, this, and precisely the topic that you're talking about. Last week I sat in on a session that PACOM put together on developing sustainability and resilience for disaster mitigation and preparation for the Philippines. And it was interesting that the team that came up from the Philippines was about 70% women in this. And it has to do with this critical piece that you've illustrated with your hands that maybe you can't see, those of you out there who are
Sorry,
driving.
I'm part Italian.
But, but the piece is that when you're building a community-based whatever, that the women of the region play such a critical role for a something that's built up from the grassroots as opposed to a drop-in piece that is imposed and never works.
And that's actually this huge model. Part of the community schools model is that you always have to grow it from the grassroots. Otherwise, it's not sustainable, and it's not something that the community itself has taken part in designing. So, for example, in again, going back to, say, emergency preparedness, I worked with FEMA, and we established an MOU with the Republic of Korea a number of years ago to actually stand up a Korean version of FEMA. It was all top down. And it wasn't until we got the nurses, the Red Cross Nursing College, all of the women in the different communities together, that it actually became anchored in those communities.
That's fascinating. So what now would you, as you look towards the future, this women's working group that's going to be operating in the laboratory here in Hawaii, will there be a connection between that women's working group, the APEC working group, and the Junior League of Honolulu?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what we want. We have a number of community partners and alliances that are being developed. For example, another strong partner is the Girl Scouts of Hawaii, because they've developed a lot of curriculum for boys and girls. They have a huge research institute that has looked at how do you train girls and boys to become leaders. And the whole point of that is how do they go from self-discovery to actually learning how to serve their region or their community.
Okay, so let's recap this for a second for our listeners here. What you're saying is that the Junior League of Honolulu and the Girl Scouts are going to be impact players out into the region in assisting in the training that Jennifer has talked about of women to help in disaster mitigation and relief efforts when a disaster hits, maybe Indonesia, Vietnam, whatever, as we look down the road. It's part of the community-based building.
So, David, of course, you're a male, so you don't realize that we've been working together all along. As women, we are connected, and like Bernice says, I mean, a lot of the women organizations in Hawaii have been working together for decades, and it really is true what Bernice is saying. We are grassroots. We are training. We have partnerships between the different women and girls organizations, and we've been doing this for a long time.
And I think another thing that's really interesting is it's never too early to start training, and it's never too late to start either. You can do it at any age, and
Exactly.
we welcome everyone. And I think it's just amazing the impact that women can play in their community and on a global level.
One of the areas, too, that's a huge strength with the Junior League that ties into this is entrepreneurship. So, you know, when you start talking and training people in innovation, solving a big regional problem, which leads to innovation, which leads to productizing or developing a service, teaching youth entrepreneurship, teaching women entrepreneurship skills is very big. So the U.S. Small Business Administration, who's a big partner in all of this, is really excited about partnering with organizations like the Junior League because they know that there's a solid base of training. I mean, these women have gone through so much training in facilitation, in their own finances, in youth finances, and in innovation, and in management. And the key is really managing. You know, it's kind of like project management in a lot of ways.
We've got more to come here, and we're going to talk about how you can get involved in this whole process after the break. So
Stay with us.
Yeah, stay with us. Well, I can see I'm going to have to get one of those gray pinstripe suits.
We'll get
Some
you a
white
little
gloves?
ascot.
Exactly.
Can't be sneaking into our meetings, David.
Yeah, what?
You can't be sneaking into our meetings. We're going to have the Girl Scouts as bouncers at the door.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so the Girl Scouts have Camp Pomalu. That's the asset.
Oh, cool.
And there's a student
That's
conference.
awesome.
So
Yeah, I remember you talked about that.
You know what,
conference.
this whole, if you think about the development of leadership of young girls, this whole process changes the whole dynamics and the image of the Girl Scouts. Is they're going to go from the cookie sellers
Right.
public image to real impact players in the region. You know what I'm saying? And so
Well, the former CEO of Girl Scouts International just published a book called Tough Cookie, and it's exactly about that whole issue. They had to redesign Girl Scouts to not just be the cookie sellers. They really are the future leaders, and how do you really think of the Girl Scouts as that? So,
But if they have also mentors, you know, when they have
Right.
that connection to the league,
Yeah.
that's what, you know, it's not just their counselors.
And pairing them
but
up, with strong mentors.
Yes, yeah.
this, you know, when you get through revamping the Girl Scouts and you have to start in on the Boy Scouts because they could sure use it.
Well, you know, it's funny because the Girl Scouts have that research institute, and they've looked at all of this stuff relative to boys and girls. So, you know, even
Women
though
will take care of it, don't worry.
Good.
We've got it under control.
we're mothers
I know,
of
the boy-
sons,
the
too.
Boy
Yeah,
Scouts-
so
the Boy
that was
Scouts need
something
it.
that we had
They do.
struggled with last year with the Junior League, because a lot of our programming was just for girls.
Yeah.
So we can look at the Girl Scouts model, and so that we don't exclude
Boys.
boys,
Right.
because there's a lot of women who are mothers of boys, like Bernice, 2 boys, that you know, still feel strongly about this.
Part of ThinkTech Radio's Focus on Asia Tuesdays with your host, international business lawyer David Day.
We are back, and we have had and are having probably the most exciting program that Asia in Review has ever done. We are here with Bernice Bowers, the managing partner of Innovi Technologies, and with ThinkTech's new strategic partners representing the Junior League of Honolulu, as well as future ongoing hosts on a regular programming rotation. We have Mildred Schwartz and Jennifer Dotson.
Yahoo!
Hello.
No, I think it's actually exciting for David because he's in a very small radio studio with 3 gorgeous women.
I know.
And
It's
again, you
tough
guys are
work,
going-
hard to get it, you know.
And if you see
Life
David, he
is
has this
tough,
huge
David.
hat on with flowers all over it. David is now wearing the gloves and the pearls.
That's right, boy.
And
He wants to join the junior
he
league.
wants to be
on.
trained.
That's right,
He
that's
wants,
right.
He wants to get some quality
These
training and
pumps
make
are
an
hurting my
impact in the
feet.
community.
International business lawyer.
There we go.
Day the day,
day.
who thinks it's Tuesday but it's Thursday.
Yeah. We are doing all kinds of magic with calendars here. Okay, so we are talking about training of women to assist in the Asia Pacific region through an APEC initiative. And we got to get an understanding of the audience of how they get involved. And right before the break, we kind of talked a little bit about the Girl Scouts. So before we talk about how women can get involved in this incredible effort that's being generated here in Hawaii to serve as a model for the region here, let's talk a little bit about the Girl Scouts, because I think that the point that was raised right before the break is really something, and that is the, you know, we all think of the Girl Scouts as you know, they're the cookie sellers, and they do have the best mint cookies.
Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
By far.
I got to tell
Mine
you
are the
something.
Samoas.
I did a really bad thing this past weekend. I came out of Manoa Safeway, and there was a young girl there, and she had a green shirt on, and I kind of assumed that was a Girl Scout. And I said, I'll take a box of mint cookies.
Oh, no.
And she looked at me and she said, "Sir, we don't have the cookies. We're selling something else. We're not the Girl Scouts." And I felt so bad. Anyway.
Did
There
you buy
you go,
from her?
I did,
David.
I did,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
David screwing up all over.
There you go.
It's
That's right.
Tuesday. No, it's Thursday. Anyway,
Men.
so you know, David, we have the utmost respect for the Girl Scouts. Junior League of Honolulu actually has partnered with the Girl Scouts for many years on our women's conference that we do every year, Wahine Forum, and it's a great working group that we have here locally as we plan this full day of workshops and guest speakers and seminars. And this year it's taking place October 26th.
That's right around the corner.
Yes, it is at the Hilton Hawaiian Village. And so go to our Junior League of Honolulu website, juniorleagueofhonolulu.org, and check that out, because we really do work very closely with the Girl Scouts as well as the other partner organizations that we talked about before the break. I mean, ranging from La Pietra to Queens Medical Center to Hawaii Business Magazine. And around the planning table, we have the top women organizations and the top women leaders in Hawaii planning this full day conference. 700 people attend, and it is amazing. So this
Can
is
men go to that, Jennifer?
absolutely. David can
Okay.
come
There
to
you go.
that.
There you go. Oh,
David
God,
can come to
there was
that.
a lot of
Please wear
tension
your
building
gloves.
here. Yeah, I got to get these gloves dry cleaned. How do you keep them clean? I'll never know.
That's the secret.
So let's talk about some action items, David, because I know for the listeners out there, if you're like me, feeling really inspired and really excited, how do I get involved? What are some of the action items that you see coming down the pipeline, Bernice?
Well, in particular, if you're interested in being part of the APEC Learning Coalition, so this is the group that will be interfacing with the working groups, but also that would be reaching back out into the Castle High Schools of the world. We have a site for that. It's also the same site if you're a business who wants to be part of the presentations to the regional funders who have funding for projects that are solving global or regional problems. And the email address that you would write to, just to say, please put me on the list for, and whatever it is, especially if you could denote if you're in energy, ag, emergency preparedness, or in general, that's fine too, education. The email address is asiapacificmarketplace AsiaPacificMarketplace@gmail.com. So that's just all spelled out, Asia Pacific Marketplace.
Asia Pacific Marketplace at gmail.com.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can also go to the Junior League of Honolulu website, and we'll put you in touch with Bernice as well, because I know there are a lot of people out there listening who do want to get involved. Are there any other sort of action items coming down the pipeline as well?
Yes, if people are particularly interested in the Castle project, we have a community event that's coming up on the 28th where we're giving an overview of exactly where we are in the implementation plan, because the redesign plan has now been accepted and we're moving into implementation. So if people are interested in that, they could also just email again Asia Pacific Marketplace, because we're tied in with Castle. But that's on the 28th, and that's going to be out at the Key Project in Kahalu.
You know, Bernice, for those listeners who joined us a little bit late in the program, what is this Castle program? Just real quick, let them.
It's the redesign by the community of the Castle High School, but it impacts the entire Castle complex. So that's 8 elementary schools, an intermediate school, and Castle High School in a pipeline. And essentially, this is getting a program in place that allows students to take classes off campus at really world-class research centers and trade centers. They can learn to be hybrid electronic technicians. They can learn to be, it's all on demand.
Well, the concept is to get outside of the 4 walls of a classroom and have the whole academic experience brings in internships, mentorships, and everything.
Yeah, career paths. And
That's so exciting. I'm so interested to see what the result of these students are and what their feedback is going to be, how they feel about it.
I mean, this has the potential for transforming the educational system in Hawaii and helping our public schools
And
get
it's-
out of
and
that
it's
bottom
mind-blowing.
category, you know?
It's happening, people. It's happening.
It's
not,
underway.
It's not something that's just, theoretical and something, that we hope for. Bernice is doing it.
Well, no, the community is
the
doing it.
community is doing it, and it's happening here. That's what is so exciting, and that's what has David just holding his brain together
That's
from
right.
exploding.
It's amazing. And
because-
the amazing thing is that it boils down to training.
yes,
Getting that quality training and education so that our future can move forward.
Yeah, I've heard a couple other buzzwords here during the hour we've spent together. I've heard leadership, I've heard mentorship, I've heard training.
Aren't those all things the Junior League does, Jennifer?
Absolutely, absolutely. Bernice, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just as an aside too, I mean, one of the key players in all of this has been the Hawaii State Teachers Association. So the Teachers Union has been extremely involved in this whole process, and Lieutenant Governor Brian Schatz as well. And so, you kind of have the East-West Center, you have all of these different players that Hawaii has that are really unique assets, and that's what got APEC all excited.
So we go from this picture in the past of a failing educational situation at Castle High School, and from there we come out of this with a high school in Da Nang, Vietnam, as an example, that through the APEC working committee is going to have a chance to see the success of the laboratory experiment here in Hawaii and perhaps implement those changes in education, energy, and agriculture.
Yes. And the big thing is, the nice thing about the Castle model is it wasn't dependent on huge race to the top funds. I mean, this was done on a shoestring. So
The community really had to put in some effort there then.
As we do.
Yeah.
In Hawaii, we are known for this.
and that's what makes it replicable. I mean, if you could...
It's just absolutely mind-blowing. And
Can you hear the?
yeah.
That's
It's
David's
the
brain
mini
blowing.
explosion.
No, that's
Explosions going off.
I'm tightening down on the headphones here so that my brain stays together,
Right, and
But
that was actually really well thought out. The complex area superintendent, Leah Albert, is amazing. I mean, she absolutely wanted to make sure that we started out with very limited funding and we didn't throw a ton of resources at it. And that's what makes it, of value to APEC, too.
we are just about out of time here, and I think that on behalf of those of us who do the programming here at ThinkTech, the Asian Review Show, I want to thank you, Bernice, for really laying something on the not only just the community here in Hawaii, but through this radio broadcast, the region at large, because we have a very large audience listening to this show, something that's of extreme value to benefit the people of the region. And the cool thing is, it comes right back into the Junior League here at Honolulu and the tremendous impact that you are having on this community, because you are impact players. It's
Well,
awesome.
thank you, David. That's the sweetest thing you've said to us all.
It is, and if
along.
there's anyone out there interested in learning more about the Junior League, feel free to email us at jlhrfuture@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
That's right.
All right, Bernice, so you have you get the last say here today. What's the takeaway to the listeners here?
That Hawaii can be an Asia-Pacific marketplace, and that we're not a little rock in the middle of the ocean. We can actually have a role, and it's not the Geneva of the Pacific, it's the marketplace of the Pacific.
Awesome.
We're movers and shakers.
Movers and
Thank you,
shakers.
Bernice.
You all have a safe drive home, and we'll see you next week.
Aloha.
Aloha.
谢谢你们。
Good night.